Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Provider AWS meeting. Today is Friday, March 6th, 2020. I am your moderator, facilitator, Justin Santa Barbara. I work at Google. A reminder, this meeting is being recorded and will be put on the internet. And to please be mindful of our code of conduct, which essentially is to be a good person. In bigger groups, we need to use the hand feature, but I don't think we need to do that here today. If there are items you would like to talk about, please do add them to the agenda. Please feel free to add your name also to the agenda if you'd like to. And I think we have someone new that wanted to say hello. If there's anyone new that wants to say hello, please do so.
Hi, sure. My name is Ian Gable. I work for a small startup that builds a graph database. We're working with EKS. I'm not sure if it's appropriate that I join this meeting, but I'm here to understand how EKS is evolving and sort of learn what is happening with it. So I'm here to learn and observe, and you guys could tell me if I should be here or not.
Awesome. Well, everyone is always welcome, and you're welcome, and thank you for introducing yourself. We do definitely talk about Kubernetes open source, and we also talk, I think, tangentially about providers, although I don't know, Nick, do you want to talk about if there are any other specific forums for EKS? I'm just nominating you to talk.
Yeah, there is actually a Slack channel dedicated specifically to EKS, which might be kind of a better place to, if you have specific questions, to ask them. But yeah, if you just want to learn about the project in general, this is a great place to learn about it.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'll hang out on the call and absorb.
Awesome. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
I don't know if anyone, well, everyone else, I think I know, so I don't think everyone else is new, but we can, so we have two main items on the agenda. Nick, did you want to talk about the annotations for the load balancer health checks? We were just talking about it on Slack, so.
Yeah, I could just, so me and Justin were just kind of chatting over a PR that was opened and trying to decide whether or not it was safe. Let me just pull it up so I can kind of remind myself. I was thinking that it was, I think the main question was whether or not the error that was introduced would fail for any users, kind of like any current use cases that users have. Sorry, my daughter's trying to join the conversation here. So I think the case that is introduced is when the backend annotation protocol, the backend protocol annotation is set to secure, and we loop over the listeners looking for a secure front-end listener and don't find one, then we fail. And so I think the question is whether or not there's ever a case where the user wants a secure health check, but doesn't set the backend protocol annotation to a secure protocol. So if that is true, if people actually do that, then I would say this maybe wouldn't be the correct behavior. But I think my understanding is that if you want, like, I think it's a reasonable assumption, if you want a secure health check, then you would set that annotation to either HTTPS or SSL.
Is it the health check that we're doing, or are we setting the backend protocol and keying off that? I keep staring at this PR and I just can't figure it out whether it looks right, and then I'm like, oh, I don't know. I feel like, should we ask for tests of the, like a grid test, just so we can like look at the permutations? Is that a nice way forwards?
Sorry, let me unmute. Yeah, so it's, I mean, it is setting the, like, if you look at the, it sets protocol equals, so it sets the health check port, right? So it's selecting a secure port based on So first you have to have a secure backend protocol to get into that block, which is the annotation. And then it loops through the listeners that were created, and it looks at, so that variable protocol is the sort of the front end. There's like in that listener, there's like a protocol and an instance protocol. So it looks at the protocol, which is, I guess I call the front end protocol of the load balancer. Now those were created elsewhere in the code in the build listener function. So we'd have to look at that for the full picture, but what it's basically doing is, if our annotation is secure, we loop through the listeners and try to select a secure listener to set our health check port to, if that makes sense. Anyway, I think obviously it's confusing, so we probably need some more reviews, but yeah, I guess I asked for a test, and I haven't seen any activity on the PR since I asked for the test. So we can just kind of ping him and see if he's still going to continue with this.
Yeah, I like the behavior doesn't change in the second half of the if statement, the else, right? So when the backend protocol is not HTTPS or SSL, so that's good. I'm just like trying to narrow it down and be like, well, is it possible that you have like a HTTP front end and like HTTPS back end, and like, is that even?
Yeah, I was wondering that myself, and I'm pretty sure it's not, or like I'm pretty sure you wouldn't do that in any normal circumstance,
but maybe there's someone out there that yeah, that's the, and like, so do we need a fallback for that, or is it disallowed by ELB? That's the sort of. All right, I think a test would be super helpful. I think, yeah, let's ask for that. And there's no workaround right now, is there? Other than they have to rearrange the listeners.
Right.
Okay. So there is a workaround. It's not great. All right. I think we've done as much as we can on there. Peter, you have the currently last issue on our agenda about AWS IAM Authenticator.
Yeah, so I'm working on upgrading Authenticator in COPS, and I'm running into issues while testing it. 0.50 introduced a new backend mode flag that allows getting the mapping of ARNs to RBAC entities, getting that information not just from a file that's volume mounted, but also a config map or a custom resource. And there's a new backend mode flag that allows you to configure which backend you want to use, and it can be an ordered list. The default value for that flag is, I don't remember the exact order, but it tries to check the custom resource first. And if you don't have that set up, it doesn't appear to then fall through and check the other mappings. And so in order to preserve the behavior from the old version, you need to add the backend mode flag to override it to only look for the file that was volume mounted. So one might consider this a breaking change. And so I'm wondering if we can fix this so that all three can work just fine without having to specify backend mode, ideally, or maybe there's some other way that we can make this more backwards compatible with 0.40.
Yeah, that's a good idea and a good point. I noticed a while, I haven't looked at it since, but somebody did open a similar issue, and I just noticed that the issue was there. I didn't actually look into it, but did you see that issue and already comment on it, or?
Yeah, the link in the meeting notes, I believe, is to that issue. I left a comment on a seemingly related issue. issue. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. I will. I'll ping the guy who made that change to add the modes, and see if he wants to take a look at at making that change, or if you did you in your comment, did you suggest making the change that you just suggested now, or do you want to?
I was actually having trouble getting the CRD mode to work in my 1.15 cluster. I noticed the custom resource was missing some required values. So the status of the custom resource definition reported a few validation errors. And that was in 1.15.0, which uses the V1 beta 1 version of CRD. I suppose tangentially we could upgrade that to the V1 CRD version, which would come with more changes. I haven't tested that, whether it works, but it seems that it's stuck trying to populate its cache of the custom resources at startup. So it might not be an issue with how they all run together, all three backend modes. It might be an issue with actually getting the CRD mode to actually start up, not find any custom resources, and then allow the other modes to find their mappings and run. So
Got it. Okay, well, at least the defaulting or the non-breaking change behavior sounds like a good idea. And if there's other issues with the CRD mode, we should probably fix those as well.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it does sound like maybe it's just have we tried it on a later version than 1.15? I wonder whether it's just, or an earlier, would be an earlier version than 1.15 or an earlier, like.
I can try it on a different version.
Okay, just like a random thought that, like, yeah, if it is the CRD incompatibility, then presumably it was tested at some point and works on some version of Kubernetes, and maybe then like that would be the only problem. Like, fingers crossed. But yes, okay. Thank you for bringing that up. I do not see any other items on our agenda, or we've reached the end of our agenda. I don't know if anyone else has any other items that they would like to discuss.
Actually, I have one that just popped into my head. For the last 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the AWS accounts used for the end-to-end tests. I know that we've ran into bugs. Well, the COPS project has ran into bugs related to the China and GovCloud partitions. And I'm vaguely curious if we could have E2E support in those partitions, if we could be able to run tests there, and what would be involved with doing that.
I think that would be wonderful. I don't know, Nick, if you know the process for getting those accounts.
Yeah, so I don't know. I know that it's not. So who actually? So did you go through the process of requesting all of the extra accounts, or?
There are. I physically pressed made the API requests as sub accounts of the existing CNCF organization. I imagine, yeah, I imagine the CNCF org.
Yeah. So I don't know what the relationship between. I mean, as far as I know, for example, there's, for example, if the region is an opt-in region, then you just have to opt in the account to use that region. Sorry. Yeah, so I can do a little bit of research on that and see if it's possible to use those regions with the existing account, or if we need to create new accounts. and whether or not you can do it with the sub-account sort of things that you've created. I don't know the answers to those questions. So
I would guess the
I would guess the
GovCloud.
GovCloud.
yeah, GovCloud would
guess-
probably have to be a separate account.
But also might still be easier, and Ihor or whoever it is at CNCF might not want to sign the paperwork saying I will run random things in China on other people's behalf. But yeah, GovCloud feels like more. I imagine there is some process by which ISVs can test on GovCloud. So presumably we just need to figure out what that is. But did you say you would look into that in
Yes,
some way?
I will ask.
Thank you. That'd be great. And I've lost the tab, but I don't know if anyone else has added anything. You added it, the EDE entry. Thank you. Are there any other items? If not, we will call the meeting to a close. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. Thank you, everyone. And we will see everyone in 2 weeks, not at KubeCon. I'm trying to think whether that's correct, but it would have been 3 weeks. Never mind, 4 weeks. But yes, see everyone I got my dates wrong. Don't worry. I'll see everyone in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Happy weekend.
Bye-bye.